There is a version of this story racing across social media that arrives already decided. It has a hero, a villain, a relationship under a microscope, and a comment section ready to hand down a verdict before a courtroom ever gets the chance. But the verified record tells a more complicated story. It is not a story about viral clips proving everything. It is a story about two opposing civil claims, serious allegations that have been denied, and the way a celebrity relationship can turn a legal dispute into an online spectacle. Today we are separating what has been alleged from what has been established, what has been reported from what has been repeated, and what the public can actually say without outrunning the facts. Because when a case includes Stefon Diggs, Christopher Blake Griffith, Cardi B, social media posts, and claims of a dispute that traces back to 2023, every new headline travels faster than the legal process itself. And that speed is exactly why precision matters. Here is the central fact. Stefon Diggs filed a defamation lawsuit against Christopher Blake Griffith. Griffith responded with counterclaims. The two sides tell sharply different versions of events. Diggs has denied the allegations made against him. Griffith has said he wants his claims heard in court. Those are the essential facts. Everything else has to be placed in its proper category: allegation, denial, reporting, reaction, or opinion. And before we go any farther, that distinction is not a technicality. It is the whole story. The public dispute gained momentum after claims connected to an alleged incident at Diggs' Maryland home in 2023 circulated online. According to reporting on the lawsuit, Diggs' complaint characterizes the allegations as false and says Griffith promoted them through social media. Diggs' position is that the claims were fabricated and damaged his reputation. Griffith's attorney, in response to that reporting, said Griffith was looking forward to presenting his account in court. That is not a conclusion. It is the beginning of an adversarial legal process. Then came the counterclaim. Reporting on the filing says Griffith denied Diggs' account and alleged sexual battery and related wrongdoing. The counterclaim contains grave allegations, including an assertion that Griffith was drugged and subjected to unwanted conduct. Diggs has denied those accusations. No responsible narrator should turn a filed claim into a judicial finding, and no responsible narrator should turn a denial into proof that the matter is resolved. The point is not to sanitize the severity of the allegations. The point is to be accurate about their legal status. That is the first place the online conversation can go wrong. A lawsuit is a formal accusation. It is not, by itself, a verdict. A countersuit is a formal legal response and a set of claims. It is not, by itself, a verdict either. The public can discuss what has been filed. The public can discuss what each side has said. But nobody watching a 30-second repost has access to a full evidentiary record, witness examination, discovery, or a court's final assessment. That might sound less dramatic than a viral caption. It is also more useful, because the most explosive element of this story is not just the litigation. It is the collision between litigation and celebrity. Diggs is a high-profile NFL player. Cardi B is one of the most recognizable artists in popular culture. Griffith is not simply making claims in a vacuum. His name is now connected to a high-visibility dispute that is being interpreted minute by strangers who know none of the parties personally. Every post becomes evidence in the court of public opinion. Every reaction becomes a loyalty test. Every silence is treated as strategy. And that is where Cardi B entered the conversation. In July 2026, TMZ reported that Cardi B publicly criticized Griffith's claims and questioned his account, saying on social media that she believed his story had changed. Griffith responded publicly, telling Cardi B to take off the blinders, while saying he did not want to speak disparagingly about her. TMZ also reported that Cardi B had said she was defending Diggs despite being in conflict with him at the time. Those exchanges are real public reactions. But they do not decide the lawsuit, they do not replace legal evidence, and they do not make Cardi B a witness to an event she has not publicly said she saw. That last part needs to be said plainly. Defending a partner online is not the same thing as proving the partner's legal case. Challenging an accuser online is not the same thing as disproving the accuser's claims. Social media rewards certainty. Courts are built, at least in theory, to demand substantiation. The question viewers should ask is not, whose post sounded more convincing? The real question is, what evidence will be presented, tested, and weighed? Until that stage occurs, The responsible position is neither blind belief nor reflexive dismissal. It is disciplined attention. And there is a second issue people keep losing in the noise: the difference between relationship drama and legal relevance. Cardi B's relationship with Diggs makes her reaction culturally significant. It does not make every rumor around their relationship relevant to the claims in court. It also does not make her responsible for allegations made by or against another person. Her public comments can shape the temperature of the story. They can influence fan reactions. They can generate headlines. But the legal dispute remains between Diggs and Griffith unless the court record establishes otherwise. That may be frustrating for an audience that wants a clean narrative. The internet loves a simple triangle: athlete, superstar partner, accuser. It loves to assign each person a role and then search for every video, lyric, photo, and rumor that confirms it. But a serious legal story does not become clearer because an audience adds more assumptions to it. What we can say is that the public messaging has hardened. Diggs' lawsuit accuses Griffith of spreading false claims. Griffith's counterclaims accuse Diggs of serious misconduct and seek damages. Cardi B has publicly challenged Griffith. Griffith has publicly rejected the suggestion that his case is a cash grab and said he wants accountability. These positions are in direct conflict. That conflict is why the dispute belongs in court rather than in a viral rumor loop. And yes, the phrase cash grab has become part of the public argument. It appears whenever audiences want a shortcut. If a claimant seeks money, the story is dismissed. If a defendant has wealth and fame, the defense is dismissed. Both shortcuts are weak. Civil litigation commonly involves damages. Seeking damages does not prove a claim, and a defendant's celebrity does not disprove one. The relevant questions are evidence, credibility, legal standards, and the rulings that follow. Griffith told TMZ that he had not demanded a specific dollar amount and rejected the suggestion that the lawsuit was purely financial. Diggs, through his lawsuit, sought damages and attorney fees related to his defamation claims. Both sides are allowed to advance their legal theories. What matters now is whether those theories can withstand scrutiny. There is another layer to this story that deserves attention: reputational fallout. For someone with a major sports career, a public allegation can create immediate consequences long before a case is decided. Sponsors, teams, fans, and media outlets may all react to the allegation itself. For an accuser, going public can mean scrutiny of every past statement, every post, every inconsistency alleged by the opposing side, and every detail of private life. That is why these cases create such high stakes for everyone involved. The public sees drama. The people at the center experience legal exposure, reputational risk, and a record that may follow them for years. The responsible audience response is not to turn that pressure into entertainment. It is to recognize that the stakes are already high enough. Now, some viewers will say, but why should we wait? If the allegations are public, why can't we draw our own conclusions? People can form opinions. They always will. But forming an opinion is different from presenting an assumption as a fact. The moment a commentator says that an allegation is proven when it has not been adjudicated, the commentary stops being analysis and becomes misinformation. The moment a commentator treats a denial as total exoneration before the evidence is tested, the same problem appears from the other direction. This is where the biggest online accounts often fail their audiences. They use legal language for credibility, then abandon legal caution for engagement. They say court documents in one breath and case closed in the next. They clip the angriest 10 seconds of an interview, add ominous music, and tell the viewer that the truth has been exposed. But the truth in a pending civil dispute is not contained in one caption, one screenshot, one quote, or one person's confidence on camera. The truth has a process, and the process is slow by design. Pleadings are filed. Claims are answered. Evidence can be requested. Witnesses can be questioned. Motions may be argued. A judge may make rulings. A case can settle, be dismissed, proceed to trial, or end in a judgment. Each of those outcomes would mean something different. Until one happens, responsible coverage should keep the language calibrated. So let's calibrate it. Stefon Diggs says the accusations made by Griffith are false and defamatory. Christopher Blake Griffith says Diggs' account is false and that he suffered misconduct. Cardi B publicly took Diggs' side in her comments and criticized Griffith's version of events. Griffith publicly pushed back and said the matter should be decided in court. These are competing claims, not established facts. That should be the baseline sentence in every discussion of this story. There is also a temptation to turn the case into a referendum on Cardi B's judgment. That is not fair, and it is not particularly revealing. Fans can dislike her comments. Fans can believe she should have stayed silent. Fans can believe she was right to defend someone close to her. But none of those reactions proves the allegations, disproves them, or tells us what a court will do. Cardi B is a celebrity with a huge platform, so her words will be amplified. Amplification is not evidence. And on the other side, viewers should resist using the seriousness of the allegations as a reason to fill in gaps with unrelated rumors. Sexuality speculation, body language theories, gossip about private relationships, and anonymous posts do not advance a factual understanding. They often create collateral harm and can distract from the central legal questions. A claim of sexual misconduct should be assessed on evidence, not stereotypes. A denial should be assessed on evidence, not fandom. That is the standard that protects everyone from a conversation built entirely on bias. That is also why this story should not be used as a weapon in unrelated celebrity rivalries. We have already seen how quickly conversations about one person's legal dispute get folded into fan wars involving entirely different artists. Some fans treat every controversy as proof that their favorite celebrity is morally superior to a rival. That is not reporting. It is tribal scorekeeping. It asks a case to carry conclusions it cannot support. It makes the people involved into props for a Stan War argument. And it replaces empathy with team loyalty. If you care about accountability, you cannot apply it only when it helps your side win an argument. Here is the tension at the center of this entire situation. The public wants finality, but the available verified information does not provide finality. It provides a lawsuit, counterclaims, public denials, public reactions, and a case that has generated intense attention. That is enough to justify careful coverage. It is not enough to justify declaring that any party is definitively guilty, definitively lying, or definitively vindicated. That may disappoint people looking for a louder ending. But the loudest ending is not always the most truthful one. There is, however, a meaningful takeaway already visible. The case illustrates what happens when a legal conflict unfolds inside an attention economy. The filing becomes content. The response becomes content. The partner's reaction becomes content. Commentators become narrators. Narrators become advocates. And a complicated dispute becomes a sequence of simplified emotional prompts. Believe, defend, mock, choose. The algorithm does not reward caveats. It rewards conviction. But a viewer can choose not to be managed by that incentive. A viewer can ask, what is the source? Is this a filed claim or a final judgment? Has the other side responded? Is a headline reporting what someone alleged? Or is it claiming something has been proven? Those questions are not boring. They are the difference between consuming information and being manipulated by it. So where does this leave the parties? For Diggs, the public challenge is clear. He has made a legal claim that Griffith's statements were false and harmful. The case will require more than a denial. It will require the legal system to assess the issues presented. For Griffith, the burden of public scrutiny is equally clear. He has made serious counterclaims, and those claims will be examined against the legal standards and factual record. For Cardi B, the challenge is different. Her public defense may be emotionally understandable to supporters, but it also places her directly in an evolving story where every phrase is being dissected by audiences with competing agendas. None of that means anyone is entitled to harassment. It means everyone is accountable for what they put into the public record. And that point matters because social media often confuses criticism with cruelty. You can criticize a public statement without dehumanizing the person who made it. You can discuss the legal claims without inventing facts. You can acknowledge the seriousness of an allegation without pretending that a civil filing is the same as a conviction. You can support a fair hearing without making an internet jury your source of truth. That is the standard this story requires. Now let's talk about the headlines around Trina and Nicki Minaj, because this is exactly where verification separates reporting from amplification. A lyric snippet circulating online has been interpreted by some users as a possible reference to Nicki Minaj. But an online interpretation of an ambiguous line is not confirmation that the lyric is a diss, and it is not confirmation of a feud. Trina and Nicki Minaj have a documented history of collaboration. They released BAPS together in 2019. Unless an artist identifies the target or a reliable primary source confirms the context, the honest phrasing is simple. People online are speculating. That is all. That distinction may not satisfy a fan account looking for a battle. It is still the right one. Hip-hop audiences are fluent in subtext, and artists sometimes deliberately leave room for interpretation. But a commentator should not convert interpretation into an accusation merely because a name will improve the title. The same rule applies to every celebrity in this conversation. A person dancing in a short video is not proof of a private fact. A lyric is not always a legal allegation. A relationship reaction is not courtroom testimony. A trending topic is not an investigation. When content creators blur those boundaries, they manufacture certainty for clicks and leave the audience holding a distorted version of reality. So, if you have been watching this story unfold and wondering why the conversation feels so chaotic, that is why. Several different systems are competing at once. The legal system is built around claims, responses, and evidence. The entertainment news system is built around speed and public interest. The fan ecosystem is built around allegiance and emotional identification. The algorithm is built around conflict, repetition, and reaction. Those systems do not reward the same behavior. A court rewards substantiation. A timeline rewards escalation. That is the real split screen in this story. And it is why the next meaningful update will not necessarily be the next viral clip. The next meaningful update will be a verifiable development, a court ruling, a filed response, an official statement, a hearing, a settlement announcement, or a confirmed change in the case's posture. Those are the developments that can clarify the record. Until then, the right approach is to watch carefully without pretending the outcome is already known. For the audience, this is also an opportunity to reconsider the kind of coverage we reward. Do we reward the creator who is willing to say alleged, explain the dispute, and preserve uncertainty? Or do we reward the creator who takes an unverified rumor, adds the most inflammatory interpretation possible, and calls it tea? The answer shapes what the platform gives us more of. If the demand is outrage, outrage will be supplied. If the demand is accuracy, the standard can rise. And this is not a plea for bland coverage. You can cover a story with urgency without inventing a verdict. You can make it compelling by explaining why it matters. Celebrity power, legal accountability, reputational harm, parasocial loyalty, and the machinery of public judgment. Those are real stakes. They do not need speculation to be dramatic. The most important unfinished question is not which fan base can make the loudest argument. It is what the legal process will ultimately establish if it reaches an adjudicated result. That is the question that remains open, and it should remain open until the evidence and the court answer it. So let's close on the facts we have. Stefon Diggs filed a defamation suit against Christopher Blake Griffith, disputing allegations Griffith made about him. Griffith filed counterclaims that include serious allegations against Diggs. Diggs denies those allegations. Cardi B publicly criticized Griffith's account. Griffith publicly rejected her criticism and said he wants the matter heard in court. Reports describe an active legal dispute, not a final legal conclusion. Everything beyond that requires care. If you are following this case, watch the filings, not just the fan edits. Read the full reporting, not just the caption. And when the next viral claim appears, ask the one question that protects you from being pulled into somebody else's agenda. What is actually verified? Drop your view below, but keep it specific. Should celebrity partners comment publicly on unresolved litigation involving someone close to them? Or does that only intensify the pressure around a case? And what standard do you want entertainment commentary to meet when the subject is a pending legal dispute? Maximum drama or maximum accuracy? The next major update will be the one worth watching. Not the loudest, the one that can be confirmed. One final note for anybody sharing clips from this story. Context is not a favor to the people involved. It is a duty to the audience. A quote can be authentic and still be incomplete. A filing can be real and still contain unproven claims. A response can be passionate and still leave key questions unanswered. The responsible way to follow the case is to keep all three truths in view at once. The allegations are serious, the denials are explicit, and the outcome has not been determined. That is not fence-sitting. That is factual discipline. And factual discipline is especially important when the subjects are famous enough that a single post can reach millions before anyone reads the underlying report. Do not turn uncertainty into certainty just because certainty performs better. Do not use a pending dispute to attack people who are not parties to it. And do not mistake a viral consensus for proof. The case will develop on its own timeline. Until there is a verified ruling or another official legal development, the clearest thing anyone can say is also the most honest. This story is still unfolding. That is where we leave it for now. Stay alert, read beyond the headline, and keep the standard higher than the timeline does.